Hello and welcome, people. Good evening. It's another episode of the Red Zone with the most romantic day of the year upon us. You never know. I don't think there'll be any love in the air come tomorrow night at Anfield, but you never know. There might be some sparks flying around as Liverpool and Bon and Red continue to make the noise with all battles of love, peace, and war. With me tonight is Avi and Rax. I'm glad to tell you that these guys will never stab anyone in the back. They're loyal as they come. Guys, how are you? And you enjoyed the weekend for once. Liverpool didn't spoil it, no?
No. We haven't. We've still got tomorrow, but the weekend was pretty chilled, man. Nice and relaxed. Got to unwind a little bit, and winding down with you guys.
Winding down, which sort of I think it's important before I come to you, Avi. I always getting sort of into my intros. I think we should remember, on our sort of first thoughts should be on our prayers with the people of Turkey, Lebanon, and Syria who just suffered a tragic loss, whether it's their friends, their own family, unimaginable, unthinkable suffering that they continue to face. And I love our prayers go out to them. And our own, very own Saj, or Chin, as we like to call him, he's gone out to Turkey, as you probably saw on Twitter today. He's landed there already, as he's messaged me about an hour ago. And you'll be seeing on Twitter and all our socials that he's doing his bit, our bit, as humanity and everyone else sort of chips in and unites together for the people of Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon. And I repeat, and I'm sure you guys, sort of come together and echo those my statements. Sorry, Saj is in the comments as well. It looks like he's found some Wi-Fi out there, so good to see. You'll be seeing plenty of his work on all our socials in the next 3-4 days. Avi, I'm sure you echo those sentiments.
Yeah, exactly. Just echoing exactly how you said it, put it perfectly, Asim. Gene is going out there and he's supplying those heat stoves, and he's raised a lot of money, and he'll be going and helping out where he can. And it's sad in the neighboring countries as well, Syria, Turkey, obviously, of what's happened there. But huge prayers, and just watching some of the videos, it's heartbreaking. And people struggling and people losing families. It's never it's not joyous times right now out there. So big praise to everyone there involved in helping out. And I'm sure we'll hear updates from Gene as well.
Rax?
Yeah, look, shared some of the stuff that they've been buying, the stoves and things like that, which obviously at times like these, I guess winter's probably quite harsh out there as well, and it's a horrible time. But the fact that members of BNR, but just also people from all over the world are going there to show support and appreciation. I saw there was, I think, some guys from a rescue team from Sudan was there, and you see all these kind of incredible stories on social media, and our thoughts are definitely with those the people suffering, and also the guys that are going over there to help. So respect to them.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on, guys, to lesser matters, because these sort of things put everything into perspective. So that's why I say lesser matters, but important as well in the footballing world when it comes to Liverpool. At the moment, we can't not buy a win. We got mauled at Wolves again, but we had some injury news as well today. Normally it's a bit quiet on the injury news or news in general, Avi, when it comes to Liverpool on a Sunday. We like to close the door behind us on a Friday and come back on a Monday morning and go again. But we had some injury news in regards to Thiago, and some news in regards to Spearman, who looks like he's going to be the spearhead to the sort of campaign in the summer of Going Again, where he's going to take over Ian Graham in the research department and look to sort of rebuild this side alongside Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, honestly, when I read the news today, because I think he missed training on Thursday or Friday, it was no surprise to me that he's got a hip muscle injury or whatever it is. That doesn't surprise me. It was, it was, if anything, it was sort of like prolonged because we knew that every game week that he's playing, the Wednesday, the Saturdays, even though we had a break in Dubai, playing Thiago as much as we do, it doesn't do him any favors. His body will break down eventually. We've never managed him really well. Ever since we brought him in the summer of 2021, we've never managed him. A player who we knew had issues at Bayern as well. We've never sort of managed his game time. We've never actually given him the tools for him to perform at his full optimum. So, yeah, Joyce breaks the news that he's out for maybe a month, which rules him out for the Madrid games. It's flattening, isn't it? It's very deflating. And Will Spearman, it seems as if we've employed within again, like we've done with Michael Edwards, like we've done a little bit of a reshuffle with, Hogan taking over Mike Gordon's position, and then now we've got Will Spearman, who's coming in as a replacement for Dr. Ian Graham, is it the data scientist analyst? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Head of research.
Head of research.
Got it. And the few snippets that I've got, the few stuff that I've read up on is like he's a graduate of Harvard. I'm a fellow graduate, obviously from the same university. So it's a high accolade that he's studied over here, and I think he will go into depths of the analytics in terms of our recovery. I think it covers a whole wide range of information, if I'm not mistaken. And the makeup of this team in terms of, is this the next phase and rebuild into, what we're doing in the summer? I still feel that these positions that get shuffled in the modern day football world, I don't really care for them. Like, yes, sporting director, everyone knew of Michael Edwards and the transfer market and how he's a transfer guru. I get that. But all these other positions like the Barry Hunters, we shouldn't be, I don't know, as fans, I don't know how you two feel. I don't think we need to know that kind of information. It should just be seamless. Oh, look, just releasing news that Ian Graham has, is retiring at the end of the season, or he's off to another position, and in comes Will Spearman. But we know about it so much that it causes fans to all of a sudden think that our club's in turmoil. And yes, at the moment, it does feel like that. And the general consensus is, off the pitch and on the pitch, it is, because the takeover, we don't know what's going on with that. We don't know what's going on with, our recovery sessions. A certain journalist called out Andres Kornmeier last week and saying, oh, it's fitness people that are not, that are not being liked by the football players at the club. So it's a lot of like swapping and changing. And I feel that, look, I'm sure this Will Spearman will be a great appointment, and he'll do as good as a job as Ian Graham did, and as the other Barry Hunters and all the scouting team did. But it's kind of information that I don't really need to know right now. What matters to me are the players that are going out tomorrow evening against Everton.
As Avi says, we shouldn't know, or we shouldn't be involved this much in terms of who is coming in and who is going out from Liverpool. But maybe because of those announcements happened all at once or in close proximity, that's why it made a lot of noise and made a lot of headlines, obviously combined with the fact that Liverpool are not doing well on the pitch. And we were the blueprint in terms of what's happening upstairs at Liverpool. And because it happened so soon and all together, it made obviously, the wrong noise. So that's why we're sort of intrigued as to who's coming in. And maybe because it's linked with the ownership, but we don't know. But in terms of Will Spearman coming in, if he's been shadowing Ian Graham, then, it's a good thing for Liverpool, isn't it? And by the way, I just want to tell our viewers, if Avi was graduated from Harvard, he would be sort of displaying his graduation certificate and not Super Mario. But anyway,
that's why I've left. That's why I've left a gap here. Don't worry. The certificates and the accolades and the graduations, even from the previous content channels that I used to be in, all the certificates that I gained from the previous content channels, it's gonna go on there. Don't worry. There's space for 1, 2, 3. Don't worry about that.
He always gets out of it. He always gets out of it.
Look, I couldn't disagree with Avi more about that. For me, I've always been really interested in, because we always see the people up front. We see the manager, we see the assistant manager, and in some clubs you'll see like the CEO or whatever, but you never really. I'm director of football potentially as well, but you never really see the analysts. You never really see the head of recruitments and the coaches and all these guys and scouts. And I'm interested in Hunters and Fallow and Spearman. His background is exceptional. I mean, apart from Harvard, he worked at CERN, which anybody knows they were looking for the particle which basically gives mass to everything in the universe, like that kind of stuff. Okay, how does that apply to football? I don't know how that specifically applies to football, but the guy's a genius, and I think, especially in a time when we're losing Ian Graham, who's also a doctor, who's also highly qualified. We want smart, very, very smart people working for the club. That can't be a hindrance. And if we have people like that in high positions, and they can have an influence on recruitment, maybe look at recruitment in slightly different ways than traditional recruitment has been done over the last 50, 60 years. I think that's a good thing, because a new set of eyes and new opinions from outside should always be encouraged, because you don't know what you don't know. And if someone can shine a light on stuff that's going to take you in a new direction, hopefully a positive direction, I don't think that's a bad thing. And to be fair, like the recruitment team, the chief scout, all these guys at Liverpool, they've really been highlighted as key members of the success of our transfer committee over the last 6-7 years. And so when you've had probably the most high-profile transfer committee in the world, when there are changes to that transfer committee, inevitably fans are going to be worried. And then you couple that, if things were on the pitch were going well, then probably people will be less worried about it. But it's coincided with, although I don't necessarily think they're directly related, they could also be directly related. If a lot of the rumours coming out are that some of these guys like Ian Graham and perhaps Michael Edwards and Julian Ward aren't being listened to and aren't being allowed to, their input and voices aren't as loud as and others. And if that is the case, that is worrying, because it's a move away from what's made us successful in recent years. So, but anyway, look, in terms of Will Spearman, I'm glad he's staying at Liverpool. I think having continuity is good and is important. It'll be nice to have somebody else come in to kind of fill that void, because I think there are four members of the analytics team. So if he wants to, I think ultimately it's if he wants someone to come in and become a fourth member, then that would be good. But ultimately, it's down to him.
And just coming on that as well, like Rax saying that he disagrees, I totally understand that, and I totally respect that opinion as well. That Rax wants to go in depth and research, deeper than what is the role of Will Spearman and how does it all work. I get all that, and for me, maybe it's a caveat, because maybe I would be in the same sort of boat as you, Rax, but because we're in such a shithole position that these appointments, it's like, yeah, but what's that doing for us right now? I know one thing that Will Spearman has worked on is a model called HUDL, HUDL, which was about occupying space on a football pitch, and how to get the best out of performances by using minimal space around a football pitch. And I'm sure we'll see methods and graphics over the coming weeks. Maybe on this show, I'll get Evan to do something for us of how he's implemented it previously. I know he did a presentation on occupying pitch space. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we saw a glimpse of it today on Twitter. So I'm sure we'll get into it. But look, some people are interested in Asim, and I'm sure I would be if we were flying high. At the moment, I'm just like, I'd rather just like concentrate on what's happening on the pitch and concentrate what's happening with this football club.
Yeah, it's
the sad thing is that I've noticed a bit on Twitter is that people are taking this appointment, because it's an internal appointment, and making like crazy wild judgments about it, saying Will Spearman is staying. That means that means FSG is saying Will Spearman is being recruited as internal. That's because FSG want to save money, and all, like that kind of stuff. I think is just a bit crazy, because ultimately, whether the owners are staying or going, that shouldn't make a difference in terms of whether them wanting to bring in a good person, or if they've already got good people, keeping them on. The last thing you'd want is Ian Graham and Will Spearman leaving necessarily, right? So I don't know. That kind of stuff is a little bit, mad.
I think the word stability is something that has gone missing in this football club for the last sort of 3 to 6 months. Michael Edwards was probably the first sort of appointment, which sort of, I don't think it surprised us because there were rumors a year before that he was sort of exhausted and he just wanted a break. And it does seem as if he has actually just taken a break. And, I know there's been rumors of him going to another football club, but I think it's the Julian Ward resignation or him being let go of is what's really shook this football club. Mike Gordon facilitating the takeover of this sale, hence he doesn't have the time to do the day-to-day operations. I totally get that, and I totally get Billy Hogan coming in and facilitating that sort of transition. But for Julian Ward to leave, it leaves us in limbo, especially like in January. Okay, we got Cody Gakpo done, but there were other holes that were missing. Why weren't a Pacific hole not addressed in the January window? But look, we move on. Asim, it is good that we've got some kind of stability. Someone wants to stay, but I don't know what the summer may bring. It might be a new takeover, new vision, new philosophy. It might be that we get a resignation from Will Spearman saying, "Hey, my job is done here too. Come some." That's the unpredictability that we're in at the moment, though. That is the unpredictability we're in at Liverpool Football Club at the moment because we don't know what's going on.
Do you think, Avi, this is why there is a need to stop the sort of rumors circulating around Twitter and all the social media platforms, because there needs to be some sort of clarity coming from the hierarchy at Liverpool.
And John Henry's brilliant at that. We talk about people masking over issues or putting up beautiful words. As I'm a bit of a poet, so I'll send you poems from time to time. I'll send you some poems from time to time. To impress certain people. But
it's Valentine's Day soon, so
I'll send you on a Monday. But John Henry is known. After the European Super League, he addressed the issue. He said, "Look, I'm sorry." He came up with this sort of beautiful sort of monologue of 3-4 minutes where you apologize to the fans. Some brought into it, some didn't. We need some clarity from the club. Journalists like James Pearce are getting pelted for the wrong reasons too. They're getting pelted on Twitter. David Lynch, these are respected journalists who are getting a lot of flack because they're just putting out what they're hearing. And so far, they've been right. But there's a certain collection of Twitter handlers, Twitter, mafia, as you want to call them, that just will berate them day in, day out. And that's wrong. We need clarity from the club. We need a statement from either Billy Hogan or John Henry to say, "Hey, look, we're still in the process of inviting investment or a full takeover." That's all you need to say. That does not deter bidders who are coming in to buy your football club. They can't say this without this, NDA procedure or contract stuff like, "Oh, we can't let slip anything's going on at Liverpool Football Club." You can say, "Look, we're in the middle of a process, and in due course, we'll give you an update." That's
but Avi. But the thing is, I don't think that's going to make a difference to people, because if John Henry was to come out and say that today, people will still say, "What's going on? Where's all the money, John? What's going on? You've said the club is up for." And it's basically going to be the same question. I don't think that saying that necessarily gives any clarity. I kind of think that all that will do is kind of stir people up a little bit more. And in a way, they'll let us know when something happens. Now, obviously, if it goes on for 2 or 3 years, that's not necessarily a good thing. But we've known also that they've been potentially open to outside investment for that long, right? I think back in 2 or 3 years ago, they said they would consider outside minority investment. So in a way, I don't know if it necessarily make it that kind of state would make much difference, especially to fans who want to scream and shout anyway.
Rax is treading on thin ice now. That's twice he's disagreed with my
third strike and I'm out.
Third strike, you're out permanently.
Isn't it the Super Bowl tonight?
It is the Super Bowl tonight.
Three strikes and out. But our in-house United fan, Haroon, he says, "Forget your transfer committees, scouting networks, inhaler supplies, and fitness coaches. You need a new manager with fresh ideas to reinvigorate this squad. The Klopp cycle is over. Time to move on." We're talking about overhauls. This is to another level now.
That's a nonsense comment from Haroon in regards to Klopp. Look, we've got to people talk about rebuilds, right? But Klopp's first rebuild was that summer of 2016. You know, when he got rid of after the Europa League final when they lost, and they lost the League Cup final as well, he knew which players were gonna go into war with him for the next 3-4 years. Hence, he brought in the Gini Wijnaldums, the Sadio Manes, you know, the Clavans that came in that summer, Laureus Karius, you know, unfortunately, you know, didn't do too well. But, you know, he brought players of that summer. So that was his first sort of build of this football club, you know, so that's one. And the second rebuild is obviously the one that's coming now, but obviously during those summers that he was buying players during those summers as well. So this would, you know, this phase that we're going into, you know, it's the people that are calling for his head. I mean, there's well-known social content creators out there that are calling for Klopp's head, which is absolutely laughable. You know, if you're writing it, and I call them the modern era fans, you know, that if you lose 3 on the trot, that's it, he's out. You know, they were probably the same fans that were calling for his head in 2021 when we were losing at home to Burnley's, the Fulhams, the Chelsea's at home. We couldn't even buy a game. We couldn't even win a game at home, let alone away. So, and we still made top 4 that season. So we need to give Klopp this summer. We need to give Klopp one summer where we give him the funds. He's never had the funds. He's not had the luxuries of a Pep Guardiola or a Graham Potter or, you know, like an Alex Ferguson did back in the day, or a Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a Mourinho to some extent, to the Ten Hags. He needs a summer where he doesn't have to worry about who he's getting rid of. He needs to worry about who he wants to bring in.
Avi, you mentioned those guys as content creators. You normally don't shy away from naming people. You losing your touch, lad?
No. NDAs, Hassan. NDAs. That's when NDAs come in handy. That's when NDAs come in handy.
Rax, Avi looks getting soft. He doesn't name them now.
Hey, listen, you got an answer for everything, Hassan. You know that.
Well, look, let's move on to the Merseyside derby. We've got a massive game come Monday night, Rax. And they say in derbies, the form goes out the window, but I don't know. We do know what we're going to get on.
Let's bloody hope. Let's hope the form goes out the window because we're in terrible form right now.
Exactly. But we must stop this sort of dash ball or new manager bounce that they got last week. And they had a brilliant win they beat the league leaders at Goodison. And we know what they're going to do. They're going to come, make it difficult for us, park the bus if you like, and win those loose balls. And if they do, then they'll be a dangerous side.
Yeah, look, Everton, they're going to be in dogs of war mode. They're going to be big and strong and fight for everything. And if we want to get something out of the game, we have to match that. We have to match that desire. And for me, that's what's been missing more than anything this season. The desire of the players to be physical, strong, and then because if you can match that physicality and that strength, we have the technical players that can win us the game. But you need to, it's a bit of a cliche, but you need to earn your right to play first. And if we can get into that position, then I think we can do it. Look, the fans will Anfield under the lights, again, a bit of a cliche, but we know Anfield under the lights, Merseyside derby, the fans are going to be up for it. And the atmosphere or the game that I would liken it to, even though they play very differently, is obviously the City game, where that was arguably that and maybe the Napoli game. Both are quite similar, but those are probably our 2 best performances of the season. If we can play like that and with that level of aggression and when the moments call for it, technique, then I think we can do well. I think we can win the game, but we have to match them physically first, and then our quality will come through. But that's what's been sadly lacking most of the season.
Avi, how do you expect Everton to line up come Monday night? I think what Dyche did, and as expected, he brought the ball winners against. What do you call them? Who did they play against? Arsenal at the Emirates. At Goodison, sorry. And I think Lampard tried to play football. He couldn't sort of implement his footballing ideas on the team, and it was too late when he started sort of playing conservative, pedestrian football. But Dyche exactly knows, and his team exactly know what they're doing, and we can expect them some parking. Like I said, park a bus, get those win that midfield battle. As they say, if you win the midfield battle, you go a long way in winning the game.
Yeah, 100%. And it's amazing that he had less than a week with that Everton team, and he organized them so well against Arsenal. You know, he organized them so well. Yes, he put men behind the ball. You know, 6 at times. I could see a flat 6 at times against Arsenal. But you know, I think they might even go for it, Asim. They won't have no fear, and I don't think they should come to Anfield with any fear, Everton. And we know Sean Dyche has got a result at Anfield as well, a couple of times, and he's kind of got that sort of, I wouldn't say he's got the edge of a Klopp, but he's got that sort of streak in him to get the better of Klopp, even in verbal exchanges too. You know, we've seen these two coaches go at it, and we've seen Klopp when he first took over. It was the season of 2016-2017 season. We went to Turf Moor. We had like 83% possession. It was the highest amount of possession that we had, but we lost that game 2-0.
Yeah.
We lost that game 2-0.
Well, that's the point. Sorry, I mean, that's the point. It's Unks is making. He says, what makes you think they're going to park a bus when we were vulnerable, when teams come at us this season? And he's right. Yeah. How many teams have we seen? Palace at Anfield, Newcastle at Anfield, Brighton at Anfield, Wolves at Anfield. I can go on and on and on.
And everyone's had a go. And you know, we were lucky in the Newcastle game. It took a 98th minute winner from Fabio Carvalho to for us to win that game. So it's a game where I think Everton they've got the players to do damage as well. I think Calvert-Lewin is back, but that midfield three of Decore, Gay, and you've got Onana. You know, 3 good midfielders, and you know that Sean Dyche will be drumming it into them. You know, listen, boys, don't lose yourselves in the occasion. Just win that midfield battle, and especially with Thiago out now, they will fancy themselves because they've got 3 powerful players. 3 big runners as well. Decore can carry the ball well. Onana can carry the ball well. Gay sits in that sort of position as a 6. You know, he cleans up very well. There's a reason why he went to PSG, and the reason why he came back as well. He's a good enough player to play. He's a good enough player to play at the top level. Gay, yeah. You know, I rate him very highly. So they've got 3 midfielders that can do damage. But look, he can get a tune out of Dwight McNeil, who he had at Burnley. You know, Alex Iwobi, Calvert-Lewin. He's got all the nucleus that he had at Burnley. He's got that at Everton now, but he's got better personnel. And he's got Connor Cody, who's been around the block, former LFC boy. He's got Tawaski, big Liverpool fan who will go through walls with him like we saw with Burnley. And then he's got, Seamus Coleman, forever present 35-year-old who will just run and run and run, for the cause.
Yeah. Well, Rax, I think what's very important, Avi mentioned Calvert-Lewin. I think also very important if he plays, and I think he's 50-50, Avi. That's what Dyche said in his press conference. He's touch and go. And I think that's very important. I don't think they have a like-for-like replacement, an experienced type of player, because they've got Maupay, who is a completely different type of profile of player. He's going to run in behind. He's going to make a nuisance of himself around the defenders, playing in between them. But if they don't have Calvert-Lewin at Anfield, especially playing with a 4-5-1 on the ball, Guy, again, Avi mentioned him. If you check his average position against Arsenal, he was sometimes just in line with the centre-backs and playing with a flat 5. Whether that was by design or whether that was, Arsenal pinning them back, probably a bit of both. But I think there will be moments on large parts of the game where Liverpool will put them under pressure. I think Liverpool will have most of the ball, even if Everton will carry a threat on the break. If they cannot get up the pitch with Calvert-Lewin not playing, I think that's a big thing for them. They need him playing just to make sure he wins the ball and get 3-4 midfielders close to him, winning those loose balls.
Yeah, look, he's a good player, Calvert-Lewin. I know he gets a bit of grief about certain aspects of the way he dresses and things like that, but he's a good player.
He's a fashionista. He's a fashionista. There's
just like you, Abby.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, Rex.
It takes one to know one, right?
He's a part-timer like Abby as well.
But yeah, he's a good player, physical player, and we know our centre backs since Virgil's been out, they've had a tendency to be bullied a little bit, and he's strong in the air. So if he's not around from set pieces, that's definitely a positive for Liverpool, because we need to try and keep them away from our goal as much as possible. They're going to be scary from set pieces. It's weird because over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been absolutely solid from set pieces and been brilliant in terms of scoring from set pieces. But now I think that's one of our Achilles heels at the moment. So yeah, look, if he's not around, that's definitely a positive for Liverpool. We just have to try and focus and keep the ball up their end of the pitch as much as possible. Because if they start putting us under pressure, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it is going to be a long night. But let's move on to your lineups, guys. You've been sending me your lineups. I think obviously there will be some injury news that's come after that as well. I think I asked for your lineups yesterday. So I'll start with Avi. Avi, let me get your lineup up. Just bear with me. I think Waxy's in behind, I think. Waxy, where's Waxy?
He's probably gone for a kip or something, that lazy.
There we are. Avi, do you want to talk us through your lineup? And I hope you give my graphic a shout out as well, man.
Yeah, no, impressive work even for the likes of you, Asim, on that. Oh, it's gone again. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
You can't get
It was fun. It was fun. Exactly. And you wanted me to pick it up.
See you later, guys. The show's over.
It was fun while it lasted. No, yeah. I can go through it. I think I made just a couple of changes. Obviously, I'm not going to make a huge number of changes considering that, we haven't got that much availability. But I'll go into my 11 while you bring up the stats. So I had obviously Alisson in goal. James Milner, I want him back at right back. Just because of the experience, the old guard, especially in a Merseyside derby. I think this is a game where, he'll come in handy. Joe Gomez and Matip, because there is no one else available. Kanate still out. Robertson at left back, I think needs a big game. And, he's Scottish and he'll be going up against Seamus Coleman. So, that's an intriguing, that would be a intriguing contest between the two. And my midfield three, I've gone with Bajicic in the 6. I think it'll be a massive game for him, Merseyside derby. And I think he's got the composure, he's got the control to stand up and, be the mature player out of that first 11, even for an 18-year-old. And alongside him, I've gone for Naby on the left. So he'll be the left centre midfielder alongside Bajicic. And I've gone for Trent alongside Bajicic and Naby. So look, people will say, "Oh, Trent's a right back. Just stick him at right back. He's not going to be no." And people say, "Oh, it's FIFA putting him as a right CM." Listen, we've tried everything. We've tried every player in that position, right? In that midfield three, we've got to give Trent a chance now. Let's see how he is, with the game more intense in the middle, because he can play that role. I'm sure he can play that role. So him alongside Naby and Bajicic. I don't want to see Henderson starting, but who am I to second guess Klopp? I know Klopp will probably go with the safe and predictable Henderson in that lineup. But I've gone for Trent, and then I've gone for Gakpo, Salah, and Nunes. Who Nunes is back now, but we need to see some kind of vision now between the three, because Jota won't be fit. Diaz is coming back slowly. So these three need to get in tune with one another before that Madrid game, in the Champions League, because I believe...
we're back.
There we go. We're back. So yeah, I've gone for...
You've been upset. You've been saying for the last 4 or 5 weeks, or even longer, that you want to scrap this 4-3-3, but you've gone with a 4-3-3 yourself?
I've gone with a 4-3-3 because I don't think we have that flexibility right now to do anything different. Yes, we could do a 4-2-3-1. As in we could do a 4-2-1-3. We can interchange it a lot, but right now, I'm trying to liken it as much as I can to what Klopp will do, but still put my little twist in it, and that's the selection of Trent in the midfield 3. With Trent, you could possibly play, you could go as a 5-3-2 if you wanted to. I'm not saying that Trent would play not in the back 5, but you could maybe put Bajicic as a sweeper in between Gomez and Matip if you wanted to be a bit, adventurous. But it's Klopp. We know that he swears by, more often than not, 99% of the, way, that he likes a 4-3-3, a conventional 4-3-3. And we've got Gakpo off on the left, and Cody Gakpo needs a game now. We've been saying it for weeks on end that he needs a goal, but there's not a better chance for Cody Gakpo to make a name for himself. And this is the game. He needs to get involved more. He needs to press more. I saw some pressing stats which weren't pretty reading, but I'm not going to be the one of those, again, that'll go on Twitter or social media and start, labeling him a flop, not 5-6 games in, especially in the situation that he's come into this football club. Darwin Núñez, I think, needs a Merseyside game. But again, with Darwin Núñez, he's coming up against Tarkowski and Connor Cody. They will push those buttons. They will want a reaction, a bit like Joe Tremendous this season at Crystal Palace when Darwin Núñez, gave him one on the head. We've got to make sure that he keeps his composure, because if he does, he'll be an absolute nuisance. And Mohamed Salah, 17 in 27 games this season. His goal scoring record is still great, but he's another one that needs a good performance. And I don't mean about a goal. He needs to be absolute, he needs to be mayhem over the 90 minutes. He needs to really go out. I think he'll be coming against Mylolenko, the left back for Everton. I think he'll be coming against him. He needs a big game, Mohamed Salah. And tomorrow's the perfect opportunity under the lights. The cop singing in full is. We need a big result, and we need the front three tomorrow more than anything. More than the midfield. We need the front three tomorrow in cohesion and playing well.
Yeah, 100%. Rax, let's move on to your starting lineup.
Hey, listen, you only put 4 subs for me. There's going to be 7 subs.
Look, Rax has got the 4 subs as well.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, so, the main thing was this was the lineup.
Rax has got Thiago in the team. What's he got about? He's got Thiago in the team. Take it off.
Listen, Thiago's playing for me. I don't care about
Thiago. He's gone through a hip transplant.
Yeah, this obviously I kind of named this team before we heard the news about Thiago. So if Thiago's not playing, then bloody hell, it means that he's obviously not going to be there. In which case, I'd probably go with Hendo. But I just feel like, look, it's not the most technically balanced midfield. In fact, it's not particularly technical at all. But I feel like we need to match them physically, and that's why I've brought Fabinho back in. You kind of have to hope at some point.
Rax, is there an argument that Fabinho could start a centre back tomorrow instead of Gomez or Matip? Is there an argument for that?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, it's damning for either one of those two to be dropped for Fabinho. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention the possibility of Nat Phillips coming in, because it's not a foregone conclusion that those two start. But
and aerially, Nat Phillips is brilliant. We've seen that as well. So maybe the thinking might be that if Calvert-Lewin does play, then maybe there's a little bit of an inkling. Maybe there's some thinking in Klopp's and the coaches that maybe it might be a good game to bring in Nat Phillips in.
I think the problem is with Thiago not playing, we're missing that controller, and therefore I'd expect Everton to have a lot more of the ball. And in those circumstances, I really don't want Nat Phillips running back towards our own goal if we're playing even not even a high line, but even in a slightly receded high line. I just feel like physically we need to try and match them in midfield. I've gone with the standard, usual back 4 or 2 fullbacks anyway, Ali and then the only 2 centre backs who realistically are available apart from Nat Phillips. Bajcetic, I want to keep him in there, but like I said, I feel like Fabinho has to. At some point, this form has to end. Otherwise, he really is finished at Liverpool, and he's missed out a good few games now. This is a big one for him to be brought back in, and he has to step up. And then who do you swap for Thiago? I don't know if any of the other options are really.
Sure, Naby comes back in. Naby?
The problem with the thing with Naby is I really wanted it to work for Naby at Liverpool, but he just never really got to grips with the physical side of the game. And people they said that he's got the ability to beat players like Iniesta and has the harrying and the physicality of a player like N'Golo Kante. And unfortunately, the physical side of it has never been there, and neither has really the technical side. So I understand why people would want to kind of put him in there, but I just feel like if we don't stand up and be counted, Everton going to basically steamroll over us. So yeah, that's kind of the thinking anyway behind it. Whether if this midfield starts, who knows how it might go, but that's just what it is on paper. And then up front, just the 3 that we've got. I saw some signs with Gakpo playing in that kind of false nine that maybe things might not be as bad as they looked in the first few games where he played, and maybe Mendes playing, kind of starting in a slightly wider position might work. So that could be a possibility. But look, against Wolves, I think that's kind of what we tried to do, and it didn't really work out. So. But I'd like to see a little bit more of him in that false nine if that's where he's been bought to play. But I don't think there are no perfect lineups.
Carry on. Finish up.
Yeah, no, there were no perfect lineups in the situation we're in at the moment. There's going to be positives and negatives, and there are definitely some unknowns and negatives in my lineup. But that's the rationale behind why I've chose who I've chose.
Yeah, you have Stefan in the 8. It's interesting to see because he's played the 6 role for the last month or so. But I take it he's going to be the sitting one, and Naby can sort of go on between the lines and press forward and create this sort of similar dynamic. What we see on the right with Salah, Trent, and Harvey Elliott, or even Henderson and Naby on the right, it'll be a similar one on the left.
I guess with Fabinho and Bajcetic, it's more a question of on the ball and off the ball. On the ball, we may line up with those two kind of sitting more, and it doesn't sound particularly hopeful, but maybe someone like Henderson getting forward a little bit more, or just all three of them sitting with both Robbo and Trent pushing up. But I mean, like I said,
one thing we haven't seen in this team is, certainly in Bajcetic, is his attacking prowess. He can go forward. We saw that against Villa. I actually think that his natural position will be RCM. I've seen a lot of him even in the academy. I feel that he's got another level, especially in a forward progressive position. He can do the role that he's doing now in a 6 brilliantly. He has been brilliant there. But I actually want to see him as an RCM and then get in a proper, dominant defensive midfielder in the summer, because Bajcetic is special. He's going to be here for the long term.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Well, just to sort of provide a bit of context to our viewers, just to these lineups that we want, like Avi said, they have been influenced by what we want Klopp to do next week, even coming weeks going forward into the summer, and how we want Liverpool to progress as a team. So that's why the lads have mentioned different formations and stuff like that. And I'll go on to what I want Liverpool to go on and take a leaf out of Arsenal and City, what they're doing at the moment, and even the likes of Barcelona and even Brighton are doing. It seems to be the trend in elite management at the moment, how sort of these best managers in the world are tweaking and always tinkering with their teams. But tomorrow, look, I've gone for Hendo at right back. He's done that job before. The reason why I've gone Hendo over Milner's probably a better right back than Hendo, but because I think we'll have plenty of the ball against Everton, I think that switch from Trent that we see to right back to left back, and with Robbo bombing up and down, I think that's very, very important. I don't think Milner has got that, in his arsenal these days, because he's 37, and I think with his legs going, he just doesn't have that ping from right to left. And even with his corners and deliveries, they're more like floaters rather than whipping corners, if you like. Yeah. So that's why I've gone Henderson, but I've gone with Trent in a 4-4-2. I think it'll allow us to stay compact off the ball. We've been seeing it for the last couple of weeks. We've tried it with Brighton in the Cup. We tried it with Wolves in the Cup, where off the ball we're in a 4-4-2 position, and on the ball, I want Liverpool to go into a 3-2-5. I think by my next slide,
I think your midfield of Keita, Bajcetic, I think that's a big weakness there against their three, if we're matching them.
But look, on the ball, what will happen is Trent, if Waxy goes on the next slide,
you want Trent to tuck in.
Trent can tuck in into, because this is what managers are doing at the moment. On the ball, these Bajcetic and Keita will be the 2 6s, and the 2 wingers come in inverted and come to the 2 10s. So you see Arsenal doing it with Odegaard and Xhaka.
Similar to what I tell you, who's been doing it. He's doing it consistently now. Nagelsmann of Bayern, he'll play a 4-2-2-2 attacking, but in defensive transitions, they will sort of like get compact together.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I want on the ball, Avi. So you can have Trent in his old traditional sort of position, if you like, high and wide. Yeah, where we've got he's part of the 5 attackers, the 2 are sitters. And but the most important thing is, let's say everyone is fit. And I'll go on to my next slide here. This is what I want. When everyone is fit, you've got the 2 6s and the 2 10s. So, like you say, we won't be dominated in midfield because we've got the extra man in midfield. And the 4-4-2 on the ball, but 3-2 in the build-up. So Gomez is the extra man in the midfield, in the defensive line. And that's what I think has been getting Liverpool into trouble. You've seen it with Ben White. You've seen it with Zinchenko coming into midfield at Arsenal. You've seen it with Kyle Walker at City. That extra man in the defensive line is very, very important. I think Liverpool are just committing too many people going forward. At times, Avi and Rax, it's a 2-2-6. When teams really go and teams back, we're going man to man, and with Henderson or Keita right up to the 3rd centre back, making a 6v6 or a 6v5 just to get create an overload on the sides. So the downside to that is when teams do get out, we don't win the first ball, we don't sustain attacks. You've seen how many teams counter us. And like I said, in this position, Trent can either be high and wide or can tuck in. And as my notes say, can play the old right back role, high and wide, or interchange with Salah. If Bobby wants to come in, he can interchange with Nunes and be a number 10. How many times have we seen Bobby very, very comfortable with back to goal? But the thing is this team is adaptable, it's fluid, and it's dynamic, it's explosive when it wants to be. And I think this is what Klopp and his team really need to go. And I think they were edging towards transitioning into a more possession-based team. But one reason or another, whether it's injuries, whether it's Harvey Elliott and Carvalho not up to the task at the moment because of their size, their inexperience. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of problems. And caveat with all that with, a total, lack of confidence in this team. So with any evolution, it takes time. But this is what I want Liverpool to be, a 3-2-5, a 3-2-2-3 with 2 6s and 2 10s to really provide that extra man in midfield, solidity off the ball, and creative. And I think that's what our team and our management lack a bit at the moment. It's a fine line between overthinking things or tinkering, as well as Pep so many times gets accused of. But when you get it right, you're loaded as a genius. But if you don't try it, you're not going to find out. So it'll be interesting to see which way we go anyway.
And I'm all for that. I'm all for flexibility. I'm all for players interchanging and swapping and changing and like being compact and bombarding the attack with like 5-6 attackers and then defending as a 4-4-2 if you need and staying compact. I get all that. I'm not sure if our manager is thinking that. But before we go on, I want to introduce my old friend on Twitter. Even off on Twitter, we've had a few arguments too. Me and Andy, but he's a top bloke, full of passion, and I wanted to bring him on, and I want him involved in a call-in show next week as well. But Andy, how's it going, mate? We need some positivity today, Andy, and I'm sure you're going to bring the fire today. How's it going?
I'm good. How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on. You all right?
Yeah, all good, man. All good.
Andy, how you doing, mate? Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Normally when you see a new face, the guy who knows you does a bit of an introduction. But Avi, are you gonna even bother with that?
I've done the introduction. I've introduced him. What more do you want me to do, Andy? If people don't know who Andy is, then there's no hope for you guys.
I'm only joking.
Andy, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. I'm slowly starting to get a bit positive, only because of like some of the guys that are coming back into training. Obviously, bad news about Thiago today. But it was expected, wasn't he? He's been used like some sort of yard dog, man. So it was inevitable that he was gonna pull up with an injury. But listen, we've just got to stop going on about it now. It is what it is. The transfer window shut a couple of weeks ago, and we've just got to go with what we have now. And hopefully, some of these boys coming back into training. It was nice to see, Bobby, Diogo, Virgil in there the other day, and even our star summer signing Arthur as well. You know, gracing us with his presence on a training pitch. But you know, you never know. He could add something to this midfield, which is massively struggling at the moment. In my opinion, it's why the front three are struggling, and it's why the back four are struggling. You know, and I just hope, you know, we ain't got the result yet, but I'm hoping tomorrow we can get a result. Merseyside derby. I don't think there's any better game for us to try and turn this season around tomorrow at Anfield and really give us some, you know, some positiveness going into the, you know, the running of games that we've got. So yeah, boys, you know, I said it on Twitter the other day. This season has mentally drained me out, man, and I just every single tweet that I've been putting out there has been so negative. And it's mentally drained me.
Just coming in on this, right? And Andy's been very vocal from the start as well. He's not just been one of those who've just jumped on the bandwagon with the owners. And I've tried to, like, you know, reconcile with him and keep him calm, because everyone knows that I'm a staunch supporter of the ownership and the model. That's fine. And I've always said, Andy, come on, innit? Come on. He goes, fuck off, Abby. No, you can do one as well. And it's all like brotherly love, right? But Andy, like, we know that, look, it was a shit show in the summer that we didn't address the midfield issue. And, you know, we addressed a position that I didn't feel that we needed to. But people will say, no, Ox isn't a left winger, so we had to get someone in, and it was Gakpo. Yeah. I want to get your thoughts, because I'm not sure if I've seen, because I have your notifications on my, you're the one of only 2 people on my Twitter that have notifications on. So in the morning, I'll see all of Andy's tweets, and I'll just read them through, because it's like, oh, they can F off, he can F off too, oh, he can jog on. And we share similar thoughts on Pep Lijnders. Yours are quite stronger than mine, Andy, when it comes to our usage of words when it comes to Pep Lijnders. But I want to talk about Cody Gakpo, because I've not read any of your thoughts. Do you think he's a player that'll come good and he just needs a bit of time? He is coming into a team that's, you know, that has no ideas, there's no creativity right now. What's your thoughts on Cody Gakpo?
I like him a lot, Avi. I liked him when he was at PSV. I thought he was the star boy in Holland, what he was doing at PSV. You know, lots of goals and assists and stuff. It's just a really unfortunate time for him. He's come into a disjointed team. He's playing out of position, in my honest opinion, as a false number 9, if you like. I think sort of he's been, you know, shoehorned into that position now because of the injuries that we've got. I really think this boy is gonna come good. I really do. You know, there's a massive reason why Ten Hag wanted him at Man United. Let's not listen to these United fans saying, "Oh, we dodged a bullet." They blatantly wanted him. And there's a reason why, because he's a top talent. Jurgen Klopp obviously has had to put him into the side, into a disjointed side, because of all the injuries that we have. You know, usually when we buy a player, a little bit like Darwin Núñez, I suppose, you know, you've seen what Jurgen does in the history of his managerial career. He sort of slowly brings them in, doesn't he, into a winning machine. We ain't got a winning machine at the moment. So these boys are asking, you know, they're asked to come in and do a job and be an instant impact. It's never going to happen. I think the fitnesses of Diogo Jota and Bobby coming back slowly will help him. You know, especially with how they know how we play our system. You know, when to press, not, you know, when to sort of hold back. And I just think because he's a new player, he's a little bit like Darwin again. I keep mentioning Darwin. He's trying to impress too much. You know, I heard Klopp say it a couple of weeks ago. These boys need to be calm. They're not calm at the moment. They're just overly trying to impress. They're snatching at chances, and I don't think they're playing their natural game. And I think once we, you know, get these boys back, sort of firing again, this team firing again, I think Cody Gakpo, I think he's going to be a real good acquisition for us.
Well, Andy, going back to you said, look, I know he hasn't made an instant impact, but when you see a player of Gakpo's profile, and there's many fans who have the opinion of, you know, we saw Jota come in straight away, Diaz, Nunes, whether they started well or not, that's besides the point. But in terms of that type of player, the dynamic, high intensity, high press, you thought, you know what? That's a Jurgen Klopp type of player. And the fans are saying, and to some extent myself as well, saying, I don't see that with, Cody. But should we take the sort of approach of, look, when everyone's fit, let's be honest, in terms of ability at the moment, he might develop into something very, very special. But in terms of ability, he doesn't get into the team. And with, Origi and Taki leaving us, should we take the perspective of, look, he's a brilliant 5th or 6th choice. And he's adaptable, he's versatile, he's big, he's got a body, he can protect the ball. And, with his record in Holland and, on the international stage, he's got an eye for goal. So he's a brilliant option on the bench. And if he's going to come off the bench and make an impact, whether it's, from next season even, he's a brilliant option to have.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, mate. And, I think he was a signing that was brought forward in January because of his price. I genuinely believe we would have gone for him in the summer, but a little bit like Luis Diaz last January, where Tottenham obviously came in for him, and David Moyes said that West Ham actually were in advanced talks to sign him. I think Liverpool just couldn't hold back with bringing these types of players in. And you mentioned Diaz and Jota. When they came in, they made an instant impact. But they came into a team that was absolutely smashing teams out of sight, creating chances. We're barely creating any chances for these boys up top. Even Darwin Núñez, the last 2 or 3 games
dried up,
played, his chances have dried up. Obviously, he had one against Wolves last week, but that was sort of like one chance. Like I can remember, a one-on-one. So I feel sorry for Cody Gakpo coming into this environment, but I really like his attitude. I like what he's saying. I like that he's acknowledged that the team's not doing great, and he wants to work as hard as everyone else to get back to winning ways. And like I said, I think this is a player that is built for the Premier League. He's 6'4". He's strong. He's powerful. He's got pace. I think you've seen glimpses of him as well in games where he's taken players on, glided past them. I think the other day, it was against Brighton when he was on the wing, done a beautiful bit of skill, on that wing, completely, destroyed that fullback. So there is glimpses of him there, but, the hardest thing about it is he's come into a side that is just down on its knees at the moment. And it's so hard for a player to come, especially a kid. You've got to remember, he's a kid. He's not really experienced yet. You've heard what he said in his comments the other day. It's his first ever transfer in his career. So to come into a team like Liverpool, where things are not going great, it's been very, very difficult for him.
He hasn't had a chance to bed in. And I think with Diaz, we kind of did that, and with Diaz, I think the shackles were off. It was like, look, you're that spark. And he did provide that spark, like, look, we've got Mane, we've got Bobby, we've got, we had Taki and Origi in the cup games, and we had Salah. Everyone was doing well, but we bought Diaz, and it was like, oh wow, it's an additional signing. Maybe this will propel us and just push us forward. And he did. He was that spark between January to May when the players they were a little bit tired. Diaz would create something, either assist or he would score, and that was last sort of 14, 15 games that Diaz had, right, on the back end of last season. He provided that. With Gakpo, he's coming into a team where the pressure's already on.
Yeah.
And he's not performing because there's no components around him to flourish. The midfield is non-existent. We're relying on an 18-year-old kid. A kid that should have been again brought in nice and slowly in the cup games, but he's our main starter now. There's no other better midfield in our team. I include Thiago in this, and Thiago, we know he's a world-class performer, but there's no one in our squad right now that gets ahead of Bajicic in our midfield three. No one.
He's the only shining light in midfield at the moment, which is great because it means he's going to have a good future and a big future at the club. But Liverpool Football Club shouldn't be relying on an 18-year-old boy to be at the base of our midfield. But it is what it is, and it's. I actually had a conversation tonight with an Arsenal fan off Twitter. He's a good friend of mine, and I was basically saying, take 5 or 6 big players out of any team, they're going to struggle. And, you know, I saw some stat saying the other day that Van Dijk and Konate have played about 123 minutes of football together this season. Now, that's your number one and your number two centre-backs.
Wow.
You know, take out Gabriel and Saliba from the Arsenal team. Take out, all right, well, Man City have been taken out.
Yeah.
Well,
Diaz
they've got the
and
luxury.
Laporte.
They've got the luxury to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, take them players out of any of these teams, you're going to struggle. Then take out your best pressers, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota. I mean, look at Diogo Jota's performance against Man City in the game we won 1-0. He was absolutely outstanding. You're going to tell me that guy, with his pressing, how he presses from the front, is not going to help that midfield out and that front three? Of course he is. You know, and this is why I'm trying to be more positive than I have been in recent weeks, because yes, we should have dealt with these problems in the summer. We didn't. But these guys have been a massive miss for us.
Yeah.
Diaz, Jota, Firmino as well was doing well for us before he got injured. And you've heard a lot of players say, like even Salah said it, didn't he, at the beginning of the season? Bobby's presence is going to be a big thing for us this year. And then he gets injured. And, you know, these are big players for us, man. And that's why I'm trying to be positive now. It was nice to see them in the training pictures the other day.
Yeah.
And I just hope we could just get these players fit, you know, and give us a chance to have something to cheer about at the end of the season, man.
And Rax, you know, it's not just about how much we missed Diaz and Jota on the ball as well as off it, but the guys who were playing, you know, Salah, for example, he missed them so much because, you know, like Andy said, you know, Gakpo's coming into the team, finding his feet. We've got Harvey Elliott, you know, Carvalho coming into a team and, you know, trying to sort of replace, you know, Mane if it's someone like Carvalho playing on the left-hand side. We had Mane last year, a seasoned professional, a world-class, you know, athlete. And all of a sudden we've got, you know, Carvalho trying to find a bit of feet, trying to get to know the system and the team. Then we've got Gakpo. And Salah all of a sudden is sort of turning inside and seeing totally new players. And he's getting to know them well. And so, you know, you have to understand it's going to take time. And when you've got big world-class players missing, any team, like Andy said, is going to miss them.
Yeah.
We're in a situation where we need to chase immediate points and win games because of the situation that we're in, but we don't necessarily have all the players to do so. And even if we do or we don't, the form isn't great. People aren't playing to their maximum. So we're fighting a battle on three fronts, and it's very, very difficult to do. Now, look, I'm not expecting neutrals or even necessarily Liverpool fans to cry and moan about it, because that's professional football. You know, you have to take the rough with the smooth, and but you have to also understand it. These are legitimate, difficult situations that we're having to deal with. Ultimately, we don't know. Right now, for things like top four, it's not looking good. It's not beyond the realms of possibility, but I don't think anybody can at this point can say with any degree of certainty that we're going to be there. All we can hope is that our form takes a bit of an upturn, and then you look at key games like tomorrow, and you think, you know, where can we get a bit of positivity, a bit of an uplift in performance? Where can we make that difference that might be the catalyst to turning the corner? There's no guarantees in football, but maybe tomorrow might be something. We've had a lot of injuries, yes. Other teams have had injuries as well, so you know it is what it is. But we've had injuries to key people who don't just contribute to us performing well on the ball; they're also essential for us off the ball. You know, we mentioned Jota, for example, leading the press. You know, if we haven't got Bobby playing in top form, someone like Jota who's familiar with the system, knows how we operate with the ball, without the ball, is essential. So it's tough to deal with that, but we have to do what we can and see how things go.
Yeah. Before we move on, Andy, there was a request for your Twitter. Do you want to shout your Twitter handle out?
Oh man, I don't even know what it is
I think
properly.
it's was it AC 178 or something? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's AC something.
Yeah, I told you.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not lying.
You know
when
what?
I'm not. I'm not. Go on.
Just go into search of moaning Liverpool bastards, and you'll find it somewhere around there.
maybe we can put it in the description for anyone who didn't catch that. So
I think Avi.
I've got it. I've just put it on now. I'll just put it.
Thank you. Cheers, Av.
There you go.
there we are. If you blow overnight, Andy, just let me know. And so look, I want to go to matters upstairs before we get some predictions for tomorrow. I know Avi's in a rush for the Super Bowl tonight. When is the Super Bowl, Avi?
It's at 3:30. We've still got a bit of time, but I've got to get some food ready and stuff like that. Wings,
There we are.
wings and pizza. You know how it is, isn't it, over here? So yeah.
Brilliant.
Are you any other fan of the guys or?
Yeah, the Chiefs, Andy.
The Chiefs,
Yeah.
Mr. Patrick, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, man, he's gonna do it today. He's gonna do it. I actually
we could do with him in our team.
The quarterback, yeah.
Yeah.
We could do with him in midfield, 100%.
It looks like that's completely gone over my head. Rax, do you understand American football?
Bits and pieces. I used to play John Madden's American Football on the old Sega Mega Drive, but that's the limit of my knowledge.
You're showing your age there, Rax. You want to be careful.
No, just a little bit, man. Just a little bit.
Well, I wanna. I don't know. I don't mind who goes first on this. I wanna sort of touch on the ownership issue. We've seen all the reports come out on Twitter, and Andy.
Let him go. Let him go.
We'll go with Andy then. We'll go. Andy, look, all this Qatari, rumors that were surfacing all over the internet about, the bids gone in, the percentages are being talked about, and nobody was coming out from the sort of the UK press and denying that. But it looks like this group has gone over. Whether they talked to Liverpool or they talked to Daniel Levy at Tottenham before they went to Man United. But the point is, they are Man United at the moment, and maybe it's slightly a bit more publicized with regards to United being on the stock market. But there's a deadline of 17th of March, I think, if I'm wrong. But it looks like the Qatari bid is at Man United at the moment, or the interest is at Man United at the moment. Do you think it's going to stay there? Do you think it's too early to tell and anything can happen at the moment? What's your take on all the ownership saga going on at Liverpool and United?
I think with United, obviously, like you said, it's the Glazers have made it clear they've got deadlines on who they want to come in and bid for the club and stuff. I've got a feeling that it's not as close as what people think with United. I think the Glazers want a bit too much money for what these guys are. These guys want to bid, and because they've got massive problems in terms of their infrastructure. In stadium needs, the stadium's falling to pieces. Their training grounds old, dated. Whereas with Liverpool, it's a little bit different now. We've got a 62,000 seater stadium coming up next season. We've got the AXA training ground, which is one of the state of the art training grounds in Europe. So I think whoever comes in to buy Liverpool, has already got a good base to come from. In terms of us guys, I really couldn't tell you. I don't know what to believe. I don't know whether we've even spoken to Qataris or anyone, if I'm being honest, because we're so a little bit like our transfers. We're so watertight these days that I can't sort of believe anyone that knows any talk with any, consortiums or people that want to come in. But something happened today with this guy that's staying in, Will Spearman, who's been promoted within the club to be the new, I think it's to take over Ian Graham, right?
Yeah.
And he was reported to be one of the guys leaving. So I don't know what's happened behind the scenes. Has there been a change of heart from FSG? Are they, now saying are they basically saying we want to stay and we want to invest and we want to make things right at Liverpool? I don't know. What I do know though, boys, is that something major needs to happen in the summer. And I'm not talking about sell to buy. I'm talking about me, and trying to be realistic here, between 250 million and 300 million pound
Easy
this summer.
Easy. That's
right?
without fail as well, Andy. That's what we
Yeah.
need as a club. It's not like, oh, the owner's never going to bankroll that. But if they don't want to bankroll that, they can fuck off.
Exactly.
No, respectfully as well. Like, we know that this club deserves to have the right amount of money to spend on who we want. We get fixated with figures and money around football, but he needs to go and buy the likes of a Gvardiol from Leipzig, a Jude Bellingham, a Mateus Nunes, a Moises Caicedo. Those 4 players should be a stick-on for this summer. I don't care how much they cost. They could cost 100 million each. Those are the 4 players that we need. So give Klopp what he wants.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Whatever happens, there needs to be, major surgery and investment in this team, because we've just let it go really stale, man. It reminds me a little bit of Spurs when Pochettino was the manager. They were challenging. All right, they weren't a massive title challenger and stuff, but they were still a good side. And what happened was they never spent for a long time, and their team went stale and old. And this is what this squad reminds me of now a little bit. It's gone a bit stale and old, and my thoughts on them, Avi, from a long time. FSG, I've never believed they've done things brilliantly in terms of recruitment. We've always been sell to buy. Klopp's always had to sell a star to bring in a player. I think they've been incredibly lucky to get 145 million pound for Coutinho. To fund, the Van Dijks and the Allisons and stuff like that, because I really genuinely believe if they never got that money for Coutinho, we wouldn't have bought these players in. That's my personal opinion. So I've never liked these owners in that sense. Yeah, they've been fantastic in terms of, what they've done with the stadium, but they've been lucky that they had Klopp, to be honest, that he was available to get. But whatever happens this summer, I think there will be absolute turmoil with the fans that have been backing them. I think they will turn as well. We need some investment, man. And I'm in answer to your questions with what's going on with these consortiums, I do believe that there's going to be talks with lots and lots of people, but I really don't believe anyone knows anything, man. That's my honest opinion.
But Avi, Atik says there are 2 Qatari groups, one going for each club potentially. What is that an option? Is there a chance of that? QSI for maybe Man United, QIA for Liverpool. Is that possible?
Look, it could be CSI for all I care right now, right? You hear murmurs, right? And look, Andy's in all his right to say, look, he doesn't think anything's going on, and I respect that too. The murmurs that I only got back in October, Asim, and I said it on this channel, that they're looking at partial investment with maybe a full takeover, later on, maybe a couple of years or thingy. And it was only going to be to American buyers because that's who we were attracting, right? And it makes sense for them to look sort of like over here, in North America, because, obviously they conduct more business out here with, potential bidders and whatnot. I've never, categorically, I can say that I've never heard of any Qatari links. I know we've had respected journalists on here saying that, there are whispers from the Middle East, which is fair enough. I respect that. But, I'm not saying that I'm gospel of LFC, far from it, unless Joyce...
Oh, you do say that.
Maybe on the odd occasion, but if Joyce tweets something tomorrow, then fair play to him. James Pearce has stuck to his gun, saying he's not heard anything from Middle East. So I respect that, and he gets berated for that, because people around Twitter, and especially there's people from Middle East who have got big accounts. These Qatari, there's certain individuals, Qatari, got big accounts saying, no, we're in talks with Liverpool. That's fair enough, but until we hear something from Joyce or from Liverpool's FC themselves, I don't think that there's any Qatari interest right now. I think, if anything, we are looking at investment takeover, but it will be American. But hey, I hope to be wrong. I hope whoever comes in, and I don't want, people will say, oh, we want the right custodians. Football's changed. Football's changed. If you think that we're going to morally be going the same directions as we have previously, or, Shankly's words, they should still be a mainstay of this football club, this institution now. But we know football's changing. And if we sort of stick to our guns and stay behind,
we'll forever be struggling to get into top 4. We'll always be having to find the right manager who can work within a model. I don't want Klopp to work within a model anymore. I want Klopp to go out there and get the players for his model, yes, for his plan, for his 11, but I want him to spend the money on his number 1 targets. That's where we need to be.
Well,
And
Rax,
that's what we deserve to be.
Yeah,
100%. But do you think, Rax, what's happening at City and all the drama that we've seen, the court cases, the talks of financial doping, do you think that's a good? Well, it's been really a bad week for the people that really want Liverpool to be state funded or want them to have a sort of a model, or even someone like Chelsea, that sort of scattergun approach, even if it's just at the initial stage for Liverpool to rebuild and be for Jurgen Klopp to really be given the ammunition for this overhaul in the summer, which is badly needed.
There's a couple of things, because this week obviously the City news has come out. That's huge, and it may influence people who are maybe going to go in and try and splash the cash immediately. But also something that I thought was interesting was the whole stuff about the announcement by the Super League people. Now, I've been following the whole Super League situation for 20 odd years, since the early 2000s, even late 90s, where it's been mooted. And the fact that that's still a thing and it hasn't been outlawed and hasn't been rejected by I think it's a court in Europe as being illegal, I think that's kind of interesting, because I think what we could see is a situation where you end up having a split in European football. And then what happens? What happens if, for example, Juve, Barca, and Madrid decide they want to try and do a Super League? If that happens, that UEFA obviously aren't going to allow them to continue in the Premier League, in the Champions League. But then the English leagues have signed agreements about a commitment to not leaving the Premiership, or at least not potentially taking part. If FSG were going to stay part of the football, I think the Super League is the next logical step they would be looking at taking. And we know that they signed up for it. So I don't know. It's an intriguing thing which has cropped up over the last few weeks in terms of people coming and taking over the club. For me, if FSG aren't committed to the club, I don't want anyone committed to a Liverpool Football Club who's not committed. And the fact that the initial reports that were coming out is that they're looking to sell the whole club. That tells me that they're not committed. And Avi knows, and I'm sure you guys know as well. Like in the past, I've been I've been supportive of a lot of the stuff that FSG have done. But if you're not 100% committed to Liverpool Football Club, I don't want you connected. Same with the players, same with any manager, same with any backroom staff. It's across the board. You have to be committed to Liverpool Football Club because the fans are committed, and we have to all be pulling in the same direction. Who's going to take over? I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, guys, do you think, Avi, do you think this will get messy? As in, can we read something into where Man United have bought, 5-6 suitors to the table? And I know, like I said, it's more of a public thing because of how their structure at the club is. But is there a slight concern where we've not really heard about this Qatar news, Qatar consortiums, any other real interest, concrete interest, from any sort of parties, whether it's from the UK or in the Arab world? Is it concerning to you that maybe it's because of the stance, at FSG, where they're looking for a strategic partner, for private investors to take a 5, 10, 15% share? And where the club is at the moment, the junction the club is at Liverpool, in terms of the 3-4 billion value, the investors are thinking, look, we're not prepared to invest around about £1 billion for 10-15%. We rather spend, and these guys, especially in the Arab world, they want the full pot, if you like. They want to spend the 4-5 billion because they've got it, and they want to be the main men.
Yeah, and look, there's no one in their right mind that can tell me that Liverpool aren't a better proposition than Manchester United right now. Andy alluded to it. They've got rats running around Old Trafford on match days. I'm not talking about the fans either.
That's just the players.
Yeah, I'm not talking about just the fans either, or the players. There's leaks everywhere in the Stretford end. You name it. They've got. It's a shithole,
right? Carrington is an old training complex. We've just brought, we've just obviously invested in Kirby. Obviously the stand now, Anfield Road End being increased for 261,000 now overall. So our club is in a better financial position. I don't know what Fenway are thinking. I don't know what Henry's are thinking. If they want 4 billion or close to, I think they'll get that. I think they can get that. If they want to retain some kind of control of like 10-15%, I think they can have that, as long as whoever's coming in are happy with, having the majority. It works with Arsenal. Kroenke owns a fair chunk of that football club, and then you've got Usmanov, who owns a little bit of a share, and then obviously you've got the shareholders. Man United have to release news, Asim, because they're a public trading company. So they have to let their shareholders know exactly what's going on. They can't hide away from that. And I don't think it deters any Middle Eastern interest, if there is any, in regards to what's happening with Manchester City. I think what will happen with Manchester City there is going to be a small slap on the wrist. I can't believe it will be severe. I don't think the FA or the Premier League can afford to give them a severe punishment as well. But hey, that's for another agenda, political.
What it might do, Avi, though, is if FSG think, or it depends obviously how the trial goes. If Man City are hit with a severe severe punishment, if they're kicked out of the league, that might make FSG think, you know what, we can compete, because these guys who've been flaunting the rules, they're out of the league. They can't do it to the same extent moving forward. Maybe the rules are finally binding, because remember the FSG were big supporters of FFP. That's one of the reasons why they got into football in the first place.
And I agree with you, Rex, but we've seen these loopholes around FFP. You give players long-standing contracts of 8 years, like Chelsea have done. It's smart business, no matter how you look at it. Giving Enzo an 8-year contract, like justify an 8-year contract, justify it, because I can't. And with City,
remember,
go on, Andy, go on.
Sorry, Ab, sorry.
No, go. Of course.
Just touching on what you just said there with the FFP. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago when Man City's ban was overturned. I don't know if you remember Jurgen Klopp's press conference where he actually said this is a bad day for the football club, and what he genuinely meant was it's a bad day for our owners.
For the owners, yeah,
because they were hoping that FFP would be in place for us to compete, and that's a really good point what you make. Do you reckon these guys are now going to wait for the, is John Henry going to wait for these fucking, the outcome of the Man City thing? Sorry for my swearing. The outcome for the Man City to decide, oh, you know what, we might be able to compete now. I'm really not sure, man. That's actually worried me a little bit. I just hope we're so far gone now of them wanting to sell that they won't be waiting for Man City's outcome. But that was a very interesting point, because I do remember that press conference, and it was almost like Klopp saying it's the end of FSG here with what happened with FFP and the ban being overturned.
And just on that, and I'll read the comment below as well, because I can see Haroon coming at me, which is fine. Look, FSG, right? No matter what, and I know there's a lot of people like Andy, right? There's a majority of fans who despise them as owners, who want better. And there's fans like myself and Rax who have been like, wait a minute, FSG have complied with every rule possible. They've played by the book with FFP. We are a clean club when it comes to that. The Super League, I think they had to join it because all the big boys were joining it around Europe, and they didn't want to get left behind, because we've seen it. This club can easily get left behind, like it did in the 90s when United were just, absolutely just like maximizing everything off the pitch too. And we're talking in the 90s here. Liverpool were
the Super League will happen at some point in the future.
Oh yeah,
some form of Super League will happen. It may not be. It may be in 5 years. It may be in 15 years. It may be in 25 years. But it will happen in some form.
100%.
Yeah, no, and just carrying on that, like FSG have been they've been dealt a harsh lesson in football, but look, we know that they could have loosened the purse strings when it comes to player transfers, and I think that's where it boils down to. Like, listen, make us competitive, consistently. The Red Sox are different. They're averaging a World Series once every 4 or 5 years. We don't, English football is different. We want to be competing for league titles, and we have done. We have done in the last 4 or 5 years against a juggernaut, an oligarch team like Man City, who have sort of cheated the system, but they'll get away with it. That's the sickening thing. They won't get their titles won't get tainted, and there won't be asterisks on their title championships. It will be that they won the league that season. They won't. No one's going to take it away from them and all of a sudden hand it to Liverpool, Man United. No, like that's the harsh reality of it. Is that? But our owners, of course, we just want them to spend a bit of money.
Should I tell you what it is, Abby? Abby, can I be honest with you? What it is with me with FSG? When they was building the team and the club to become what we always wanted, as Liverpool fans, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me. All we've ever wanted is to compete in every single, trophy that we go for, and we've been doing that. But we also wanted to do that so we can earn the right to do what Alex Ferguson was allowed to do back in the day, which was go out and buy a star player every year,
every season.
We Klopp earned that right over the last 5 years to go and buy a star player every year, right? And they haven't done that. And people say, "Oh, it's because Klopp isn't that sort of manager." I think that's a load of rubbish, because he's mentioned players that he would have loved to have had at Liverpool, but he's never ever been allowed to have that, and that's what frustrates us. What frustrates me as a fan is that we've earned this right for the last 3 or 4 years. We've been into 3 Champions League finals, man, in 5 seasons. We've been hitting 90 plus points in the league for the last 5 seasons. Apart from the defense one where we lost completely. Our defense completely capitulated. And yes, Klopp still got us into 3rd position. Everyone would have forgiven him for us finishing 6th or 7th that year. We got to 3rd. He earned the right to get these players that he wanted, and they never did that. And that's what's bugged me massively with FSG. That's bugs me massively.
Spot on.
But Andy, just before I won't let Avi dodge Haroon's question, but before he takes that, Andy, you mentioned Jurgen Klopp. He deserves that, and I 100% agree with you. But there's a notion where he's towing the line at the club. He's a yes man for FSG. He should be putting a lot more pressure on the owners. He should come out. He do a Jose Mourinho. He should do a Tuchel. But as we've seen, that only ends one way. Yes, he can be a bit more clever, and he has been. But fans want him to be even more open and publicly go for the owners. And do you think he should do that?
I said it on a few tweets, mate, that's one of his biggest faults, was not going for the owners, especially this summer. Do you guys remember the parade this year? Do you remember when he was getting videoed on LFC TV? And there's one sentence he turned around and he said, and it really gave me so much hope and excitement. He said, "Liverpool fans, get ready for what's coming next season." He said that, which means that he was promised, obviously, Tchouaméni to come in, and whatever happened with the Tchouaméni deal, that fell through. For me, FSG, if you're serious, you don't allow Real Madrid to go anywhere near Tchouaméni. You sign, seal, and deliver him, right? The day before the Champions League final. Done. Finished. You sign, seal, deliver him. And Klopp was excited about things like that. A player like Tchouaméni coming in. And I think that has really rattled him this year. That's rattled him massively this year. Because I think Darwin Núñez would have come in as well with the sale of Mane. So there, all of a sudden, the squad's looking brighter. You've got a Tchouaméni in your midfield. You've got Darwin Núñez coming into a thriving team midfield again. And that's one big fault I've always felt Jurgen hasn't called out these owners. And I was just going to ask you guys, when we're talking about the ownership and something needs to happen in the summer, I genuinely believe Jurgen could walk this summer if we don't get investment. I genuinely believe he could walk. I genuinely think he's a sort of guy that doesn't want to hurt this club anymore. He feels like he's taken us to the level he can get us to now with the investment, and I think he'll walk. If he doesn't, then Jesus, he really is a yes man, and that's a big worry. That's a massive worry as far as I'm concerned, because it means he's lost his bollocks. And one thing I've always loved about Jurgen Klopp, he's a fearless manager. And if he ends up not walking with no investment next year, then in the summer, I'm a little bit worried about that.
I think the saving grace there is he's got the fans on his side, Andy. I think that's what it is. He's got, whether you're worldwide fans or your fans that attend every game or once every month, he's got the majority of fans on his side. The small, minute fans on Twitter Mafia, who come out with some crazy shouts. I think he knows he's got the support of the people. He's got the support around him. He's got the support of the players. The players have not, lost their trust in Klopp. He hasn't lost the players. It's just one of those seasons.
I was worried he was. The last 2-3 games has worried me that he's lost a bit of the dressing room. Just simply the way the team have been. One thing we always remembered with our teams when they lost games is the reaction the game after. And the game after that, there's been no reaction, man. It's just been the same old shit every single week.
I think
that worries me. Yeah. That worries me massively.
Andy, I think that's a culmination of last season. I think it took its toll. And because they didn't refresh in the right reasons, like, look, I think Carvalho will be a wonderful player. I think Calvin Ramsey, poor guy, he's had this growth issue, and it's now been a burden on other injuries now that he's picked up. If they had got a Tuchemani, and I said it very early on this season, I think I said it just before the Fulham game, as in me, you, and Keane, I said the Tuchemani deal was so imperative that we got it over the line. That Darwin Núñez, I think, will be a good player. I think he's fine. But this Tuchemani was imperative to come into this midfield to give it, to bolster that sort of confidence and, a powerful player that we needed. Imagine Thiago, and I think Fabinho's form has dipped because of that. That he's got no leg runners around him. Like, Thiago's not a leg runner. He won't give you the durability or the kilometers that, like, you need to be successful in this club system. But and that's why we're seeing the results that we're seeing. And it does look, if you look at the body language, like Trent's body language absolutely stinks right now. But I think that's how he comes across, a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit of, like, just a bit relaxed. But yeah, I think, and look, all that being well and said, right, tomorrow is where we can put things right. If tomorrow we win, right, against a Sean Dyche team, Everton as well, like, there's two caveats there. We hate Sean Dyche as it is, right? And we despise Everton because they're our nearest rivals. But we get a result tomorrow on a Monday night, then hopefully that propels us to get on a little bit of momentum ahead of the Madrid game, ahead of Wolves and, what's coming.
Yeah, that 100%. I said it. This was the game for me which can turn our season in terms of, the confidence and players coming back, because hopefully by Newcastle, then you'll have Van Dijk coming back into the fold. Jota will be 2 weeks into full training. Yeah, Bobby Firmino as well. Just beating Everton tomorrow. Just win, man. Anyway, just win.
Andy, we've been saying that all season. This is going to turn our season. This is going to change our season.
But it's this game, mate. This game. It's this game in particular, mate. I said it from a few weeks back when I was looking at the fixture list. The Merseyside derby could be the game. Hopefully. That can turn us around.
Hopefully. Okay, before we wrap up things, Avi, and get people's predictions and go around the table, come on. Liverpool might have lost their legs, but it looks like you've lost your balls as well, Avi. I
don't know. They say silence is golden, and I don't know where Harun is coming at me for the 10th in the position and in this shit as a football club. How are you in a better place? Look, they're running off one season, like half a season, right? Momentum in what's his name, Ten Hag, right? I've heard the same thing regurgitated since Van Gaal came in, David Moyes came in, who was it? Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, even Ryan Giggs had a stint at Man City, right, for 6-7 games, right? You're having a good season. Let's see if you can carry this through to second, third. You got to remember, United are still the second best team in their own city, right? We still own Liverpool. They don't own Manchester anymore, okay? They're behind the noisy neighbors, shall I say. So let's put him in his place. So, but no, thank you, Harun. You're always welcome to come on the show. If he's one of our own. If he's happy to come on the show, you can come on the show. No problem. We can discuss it further.
Yeah, he's been on before. I don't know if you were on the show. He came.
Is he the good-looking one? Is he a bit of a film actor? Is he the one that
has him? Okay, guys, we'll go down the table and wrap up things. It's been about an hour and a half, and we must be getting close to that kickoff at the Super Bowl. Have you ordered your pizzas yet?
No. I've got to go and collect them.
Okay.
The nearest pizza shop's about 10 miles away. Go on.
Rax, I'll start with you. What's your prediction, man?
I'm going to go for a Liverpool win, 1-0. Bit of a bruising battle, but hopefully we get the goal that takes the points. And I hope it's Mohamed Salah who scores, because I think he needs a goal.
Good shout, Andy. We don't have a cult hero. We don't have Origi to come off the bench and get us a winner off the bar, or somehow Pickford flapping at one and he heads one in. But how do you see it? Panning out tomorrow.
Same score prediction as it happens. I fancy a 1-0 in the second half, and I'm going to go for set piece, Joel Matip header.
Wow.
Ooh, interesting.
Very meticulous there, Andy. Very meticulous there, Andy.
Yeah, I know.
Plenty of 2-0s. Avi, do you go for a clean sheet?
No, I think we're gonna concede. I think we'll concede tomorrow. Look, I'm always confident. I'm always positive, right? I'm gonna go with I'm going with the same as Atik. I'm gonna go with 2-1, and I really hope that Cody Gakpo gets the winner tomorrow. I hope it's like 1-1 and he gets the winner, just because it'll be great for him. In front of the Kop end. I hope it's in the second half and we're shooting against the Kop. I hope that we do win 2-1. I think tomorrow we will get a result as well, though.
I think I was going to go for 1-0, but since you guys have gone for 1-0, I'll go for a 2-1. I'll go with Avi. Don't think they can get many goals, but it might be an early one and might open the game up a little. But I think Nunes and Salah are going to be on the score sheet tomorrow. So hopefully any sort of win, we'll take it. We don't give a crap how we win, as long as we get that win. But before we go, Avi, do you want to, since you're leading things on the Call As You Like show, which is a fanning call-in show, do you want to plug it? Go for it, mate.
Yeah, just obviously a new show coming next Saturday. Oh fuck, I'm gonna be working overtime next week. I've got across the pond on the Friday. I've got Call As You Like. Yeah, we're hoping to go live after the Newcastle game, because I think Newcastle is a late kickoff, so we'll go on live straight away. Already got a couple of messages saying that they want to come on, but first come first serve. There's no priority. There's no priority on this channel, and there won't be any priority on the show. Whoever clicks the link, they will come in, and I'm sure if Rax and Andy are free, I'm sure it'll be great to see Andy on a Call As You Like, especially if things go haywire against Newcastle. It'll be brilliant to see that passion and aggression that we all know Andy for.
These shows help. Trust me.
Yeah, no, it's therapeutic.
When you've lost the game.
Yeah, 100%. But no, it'll be, I think, about 7:30, 8 o'clock, Asim. I'm sure you'll be hosting that one, Asim, and I'll be your sidekick next Saturday, and then we'll bring in the callers in.
Anytime. And this was like the show for the fans. A lot of people have been sort of telling us, we always listen to people when they provide their feedback, and I think it's a good time to get the fans involved. And like you guys say, this sort of therapy after the games, it really helps. And you never know what we could be in store for come Saturday night. If things go wrong tomorrow, we could get an interesting one, but it'll be good. And I think that's all we have time for. It's been an absolute brilliant show. Rax, thank you very much as ever. Andy, it's been a brilliant day.
I think you've got one super chat prediction for tomorrow.
Sorry, I was backstage.
It's a 1-1 final score tomorrow. But
Trust, is that Don Hassan as the profile?
I think it is. 1-1.
1-1 final score. And it won't be a surprising scoreline as well. But before we go, thank you very much. Andy, it's been a brilliant debut. More than welcome.
Thanks,
at any time. And thanks for Avi for getting you in as well today. It's nice to put a face to a name, Andy. About 5 minutes after you started speaking, I realized who it was. So it's good to see, man.
Yeah, you too, man. You too.
Hopefully we share a screen many more times. Rax, as ever, thank you very much, bro. Avi, thank you very much. And hopefully the messages go again. Some people are saying the season is a write-off, but there's been plenty to play for. And hopefully we kickstart our season, even though it's middle of February, but hopefully it provides a springboard for the next 2-3 months. And thank you very much for watching, guys. And take care of yourselves. Good night.